Je vais vous proposer maintenant une intervention.
Now we're going to have a witness coming to give us a testimony, and that may answer some of your questions. Alain Degnaud is a vegetable farmer in the region. He's going to share with you his own agrivoltaic project. And it's quite a well-handled project, and he's going to tell us all about it. And if you have questions, of course, feel free, and it will probably be similar to the type of questions we've already had. Good morning. My name is Alain Degnaud. I produce vegetables in 𝗔𝗹𝗶𝗄𝗃, not far away from here. We work for 15 shops and outlets in the local area. We started working with photovoltaic in 2015 after maintenance issues on some old greenhouses that we had. And the question back then was, should we take them down and rebuild them with a very high cost? So we decided to look at photovoltaic panels. It seemed interesting back then. So we got in touch with greenhouse renters. No one answered, so we decided to do it ourselves on 1.5 hectares that were full south-oriented. The greenhouse became operational in the spring 2015. Its total power was 1.2 megawatts, just over one greenhouse. In terms of production in that greenhouse, it was tomato, eggplant. For the eggplant, there was no impact on the yield. The yield was close to identical. For the strawberry part, because we also did strawberry, was a drop of about 20%. And for tomatoes, the drop was about 30%, especially given the size of tomatoes that changed. So we worked on that to try and improve those results. We realized that we had to reduce our planting density, so it was not perfect. Not perfect, but perfectly viable, especially for the eggplant aspect. So for this first project was really to make sure that the operation would finance itself. It was key for the farm to make sure that it remained viable. Later in time, after working on our farming techniques, we realized we needed to change the orientation of panels. Not 50% of the roof turned south, but rather turning it to the west, where there's a stronger light up to mid-afternoon, with only 20% of the roof taken by panels on smaller plots for strawberries. And in 2020, we built a first greenhouse of 3,000 square meters. There was no more call for bidder. It was for 100 kilowatt, oriented west. I'm going to talk about the production possibility of 1,100 kilowatt per panel. And for the second project, turned to the west, looking west, with two-sided panels. We had 1,050 to 1,100 kilowatt per panel, same as the first project, and no impact on the crop, identical yield to the control greenhouse. So after that, we decided to make an extra 5,000 square meters of photovoltaic greenhouse, where we put 250 kilowatt capacity of panels, still for strawberries, with the same observation. We have no more yield loss since we've faced the panels to the west. So this is our feedback, what we've done. Thank you for this great example.
Peut aisément se transposer à certaines de nos
I think this is an example that could be quite useful for some of our crops. If you have any questions, don't hesitate. I'm sure there are some.
Alors, en attendant que les doigts se lèvent, moi j'en aurais une quand même, c'est que
I've got one.
avec vos espèces,
With your species, did you have to change your management for these crops in order to adapt to the different lights when you're in a greenhouse? Well, what was specific with ours in our 15 shops was that we work with seasonal products. So we're looking for tomatoes during the season, June, July, August, obviously. We don't particularly want the early crops. So management for the photovoltaic program really was for plants that were planted much later. When you have a plant in a photovoltaic greenhouse in January or February, well, I don't think it's that interesting. You have to have a kind of summer plan for this kind of production. There's a question. 𝗚𝗔𝗘𝗖 I was wondering, with your panels, I heard that they were bifacial from the second project. When you look at the photos, you would say that they cover all of the greenhouse. Is that true? Well, it's the first project where it covers the whole of the south part and 50% of the greenhouse. But the others only cover about 20% of the surface of the greenhouse. And you were saying that your initial desire was to be able to finance the greenhouses. Nevertheless, are you being able to draw a revenue for income from the electricity that's sold? Well, there are a few of us working together, and the problem is when we look at all the early crops for the 15 shops. We have a strawberry production which runs from March, end of March, up until the beginning of June. And then afterwards, we didn't do anything in the greenhouses. So the concern that we had then was to say, how can we produce strawberries in that kind of short period and amortize the cost of the greenhouses, which are extremely expensive to run. So the photovoltaic panels have allowed us to cover our strawberries and also help offset this cost, the financial cost of running the greenhouse. Are there any other questions? I have a last one. Given the photos that you've shown us, what do your neighbours think of that kind of equipment out in the countryside? Have you had any problems, or even with authorities, for getting a permit? Well, when we responded to the call for tender, we had a massive file to fill in. We have a partner who holds 10% of the company. It was created for that, and he is the one that deals with all of these, the permits, the demand for permits, etc. And then, of course, we had to wait and see. We had to wait to win the call for tender. Well, I don't know if it's particularly well looked at in the profession, this type of installation, to be honest. I don't know if it's particularly well viewed. We're not looking at the same configuration as people working directly with local products. It's interesting all the same, and it's perfectly viable with the direction and the choices that we have decided to take.
Très bien, merci.
Thank you. Thank you very much for this testimony. I think you can give them a round of applause.